David Taub here from NextLevelGuitar.com, and today I am with Thomas Heller Luthier here in Carlsbad, California. And Thomas invited us down to check out his killer facility where he builds by hand classical flamenco guitars, and the guitars he makes are just absolutely stunning. The woods and just the aesthetics of them. And Tom's going to take us around his shop today and give us a little tour. And the thing to keep in mind is this is a little bit different than, I don't know if you saw our tours of our Taylor guitar facility. Everything here he does by hand. No computers, no laser cutters, no programming. Everything from the carving, right? Everything. Yes. Totally done by hand. So we're going to go around, we're going to do a little tour, we're going to do a little Q&A with Thomas, and we just want to say we appreciate coming out here and giving the opportunity here in beautiful San Diego. And if you want to look more at, to learn more about the guitars that he makes, you can go to www.hellerguitars.com.
Well, having built cabinetry and furniture for about 30 years and being a hands-on person, I've always been interested in guitars, both steel string and classical. About 8 years ago, I decided to start studying it. So I bought a couple different books, started reading. I bought several different full-scale plan sets for classical guitars. The reason I like classicals more than steel strings is because of the integral portion of the two, being that the body is glued to the neck, where in a steel string it's actually detached and held by a truss rod. Also, the part of the classical guitar that I really like is it's simplistic in design, actually, yet it's very refined simplistic. I really love the fact that it has a soft kind of organic sound to it, and being a hands-on woodworker, that portion of it really appealed to me more. The back, top, and sides of the guitar I actually mill in here on a wide belt sander. These are typically purchased in a form that may be 60–70% thicker than this.
Now is that Brazilian rosewood there?
This is Brazilian rosewood.
That's the holy grail of tone woods in your hand, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is the side set. This is the matching back set that will go with it. But these are sanded on a wide belt sander, which I'm going to show you. This is a wide belt sander. There are a number of different belts that we use in this sander. For the purposes of sanding guitar wood, I use anywhere from an 80 grit up to, oh gosh, maybe a 150 grit belt in this machine. The rosewood is extremely hard. The ebony fretboards are very hard. The material, as it comes to me in rough form, I will sand down initially with 80 grit to get it close to the thickness that I wanted, and then we'll step down to maybe 120 to 150 grit. But the back and side sets are sanded through here to between 1.9 and 2 millimeters. And then actually the tops I use, spruce and the western red cedar, I also run through this machine, and they are sanded anywhere from 2.2 up to 3 millimeter.
So how many passes does it take? Do you do like a pass through and measure and look and pass through? And
I do. I measure quite a bit. Even though this machine is extremely accurate, even within the same piece of wood, the density varies. So we'll find that as the piece of wood is running through the sander, it won't necessarily sand to a uniform thickness. So oftentimes the piece has to come out and be reinserted with the other end going through from the previous sand. I'll actually sand the back and side sets together through here, and then the tops I'll run through here initially to take them down in thickness. Then I glue them together and I'll pass them through again. After the rosette is made and inlaid into the top, I will pass it through again to clean that up. So this machine is worth its weight in gold when it comes to building guitars. It really is. It saves an incredible amount of time.
could you ever sand it by hand with the accuracy of this machine?
You could. However, it would take you a long time.
Yeah.
And traditionally, that's how guitars have been done, or with planes, and planed down to the proper thickness by hand. It's an extremely labor-intensive process, so this is a very valuable time saver. It really is. Well, when I'm building one instrument at a time, it takes me about 1 month to build a guitar. So at present, I do maybe 12 in a year, and I have a waiting list that's about 12 months long. But I typically have at least 2 or 3 guitars at home that I have for sale. So for anyone who's not interested in waiting on a list and be happy to purchase one of the guitars I have in stock, I'd be happy to speak with them.
And there's a lot of variation in Brazilian rosewood. Like, can you show the back of the one guitar there compared to...
Sure, David. To give you an example, these are both Brazilian rosewood. You can see the difference in color.
Now that's unfinished still. That's why it still has that kind of satiny...
Correct. Well, different trees. And even within the same tree, the color can vary quite a bit. Starting with Brazilian rosewood, it's almost impossible to find anymore. It's illegal to...
Can't harvest it, right?
Export out of Brazil. The Brazilian rosewood that I have was actually harvested in the 1950s and was purchased by a luthier who retired, oh gosh, quite a number of years ago. A gentleman that I knew purchased the wood from this luthier when he retired and then resold it. He purchased it as an investment and then resold it to me. So that's why I was fortunate enough to buy a good stock of Brazilian rosewood. But there still is wood they're referring to as stump wood, which comes from the Brazilian rosewood stump. It's not as desirable as this, but it still is a good tone wood. A good set of Brazilian rosewood can run $1,000, $1,200 for a back and side set, which is what you see right here. What I'll do is I'll show with one of my carving gouges how I begin to carve the neck. As you can see, I have the outline of the neck laid out, and I put it into the vise. And then with one of my carving gouges, I'll begin to carve the neck.
Everything by hand, huh?
Everything by hand. Now, in addition to this, I use actually this carving gouge and this one to do a lot of the work on the carving of the neck.
That's fascinating, all these hand tools that, you know, have been replaced by technology, I assume, right?
Correct.
And not too many people are doing these by hand. I mean, I'm just getting some close-ups of these different... And all of these, I assume, have a specific purpose, getting a certain shape or a certain wood or something along those lines?
They do. They're used in many different applications, but they're very important and always have to be extremely sharp in order to provide every...
How many fingertips have you lost? Any yet, or have you been...
No.
No?
I haven't lost any fingertips yet. I have cut myself from time to time.
A couple stitches here and there. I guess that's an occupational hazard for the luthier.
It is an occupational hazard. It really is. I use the carving gouges and the chisels initially on the neck, and then I'll actually go to a rasp file, and with the rasp file I will round over the neck and bring it to the shape that you'll see. As you can see the difference, here's one that's been carved. However, the neck is still rough. You can see the marks from the rasp file. All this I do by hand prior to actually assembling the guitar. But even at this point,
still not done.
Still not done. There's a lot of work up here in carving the head, the back of the head and neck.
Oh yeah, look at that. How this line is carved out of the wood.
Correct.
As opposed to, here's the line that he still has to carve and chisel all this out. And oh yeah, I could feel, obviously you can't see this on camera, but you could really feel how still rough, how much more work it's going to go into that neck to get it to that.
Exactly. I still build furniture. I'm also a wood carver. I have a door here actually that I'm building for a residence that's white oak and has carved panels in it. So I still dabble in that. However, my true love really is the classical guitars. I really love building them.